because you're not as old as I am. I'm 93. Okay? And so you are 8 years old. Are you not? Are you 8 years old?
Silent signals only.
Yes. That's right. I'm going to read you a story, and it's called Juneteenth, a children's story. Say the word Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Louder.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. And then I'm going to tell you what that means. So, Miss Bailey's going to show you the pictures while I read you the story. I'm with a group of children, and I've got a book in my hand, and the children say, "Granddear Opal Lee, what does this say?" And I say to them, "Juneteenth, a children's story." That's the title of the book. And then one child says, "Granddear, can you please read this book to us?" Now I want you to see, the book is called what?
Juneteenth.
Say it again.
Juneteenth.
And the reason I'm saying this is because I want you to go home and tell your mothers and your fathers that you learned about what?
Juneteenth.
One more time.
Juneteenth.
Very good. I want you to be able to tell them that. So I turned the page. Over 200 years ago, people who looked like me were slaves. Now, someone may have read to you the stories from the Bible that told about slaves in Egypt, but they were not like these slaves. And then I'm going to turn the page. Men from this country, from these United States and other countries, stole people in Africa from their fathers and their mothers and their sisters and their brothers. From what country did they steal them?
Africa.
Say it again.
Africa.
They stole people from Africa, took them away from their fathers and their mothers and their brothers and their sisters. They brought them across the ocean in ships. That's a lot of water. The oceans are a lot of water. And it was a very long trip. It took a long, long time. And some of them did not make it. They did not get to the United States. And I turned the page. The slaves worked very hard for no pay. And they weren't treated fairly. They worked hard for what? No pay. Say it.
No pay.
They worked hard for what?
No pay.
They didn't get any pay. Life was not good for them. Now, there was a United States president, like President Barack Obama. His name was Abraham Lincoln. And he declared that slaves would be free on January the 1st, 1863. This was called the Emancipation Proclamation. What was it called?
Emancipation Proclamation.
Louder. Let's say it together. Emancipation.
Emancipation
Proclamation.
Proclamation.
Now say it.
Emancipation Proclamation.
When he said that all slaves were free, they called it the what?
Emancipation Proclamation.
And it happened January the 1st, 1863. Say it.
1863.
January the 1st,
January
night long on New Year's Eve to see how freedom would come. Now, these were called watch night services, and many churches still hold them today. What were they called?
Watch night services.
Say it again.
Watch night services.
Watch night services.
Watch night services.
Watch night services. Let me hear you say it, sir. Take your finger out of your mouth. Loud. Say it again. Watch night services. Everybody say it.
Watch night services.
Okay. And so, the United States, where we all live, was so big that slaves in Texas, that's where I live, didn't get the news that they were free for 2.5 years after slavery was ended. How long did it take?
2.5 years.
Say it again.
2.5 years.
2.5 years, they didn't know they were free. They were still slaves. But on June the 19th, in 1865, in Galveston, Texas, Major General Gordon Granger read a paper called General Order Number 3 to the people that were there. That Major General Gordon Granger read General Order Number 3. What was his name?
General.
Major General
Major General
Gordon Granger.
Gordon Granger.
All right. And he read General Order Number what? General Order Number what? Right. General Order Number 3. Say it again.
General Order Number 3.
And because there were a lot of people for him to read it to, he nailed that piece of paper, General Order Number 3, to the door of Reedy Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church. General Granger declared all slaves are free. What did he say?
All slaves are free.
What did he say?
All slaves are free.
What day did he tell him?
All slaves are free.
What day did he say?
January. June 19th.
Yes. June 19th, 1865. Say it again.
June 19th, 1865.
All right. He said that what? All
All slaves are free.
again.
All slaves are free.
What day?
June 19th. 1865.
1865. 1865. Well, I turned the page and the slaves were so happy that they started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since. We have Juneteenth celebrations in 47 of the 50 states in the United States every year on the 19th day of June. Every year there have been celebrations, and former slaves put on their best clothes. They dressed to the nines to celebrate their freedom. How do they dress? To the nines. Say it, they dress to the nines.
They dress to the nines.
Say it again.
They dress to the nines.
I want you to ask your mom and your dad what dress to the nines means. Will you do that? I could tell you, but I want you to ask them. What does it mean when people dress to the nines? Will you do that? What did she say?
Dress up fancy for a party.
Yes! Yes, they dressed to the nines because they were celebrating their freedom. All right. I turned the page. The the day was called what?
Juneteenth.
Say it again.
Juneteenth.
One more time.
Juneteenth.
That day was called Juneteenth, and it's celebrated in the United States and around the world. There are 47 states that celebrate Juneteenth as a holiday. How many states?
47.
Say it again.
47.
47 states celebrate it as a holiday. So on each year, on the 19th of June, people celebrate the end of slavery with festivals and fairs and educational activities. Did you hear? You think you like that?
Yes.
Okay, who can tell me the story? Oh, look. I want the young man in the white shirt right here. This one. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Mom.
What's your name?
Mom.
Lamont?
Shimon.
Mom.
Shimon.
Shaman. All right. Shaman, stand up and tell the children what the story is about.
Story is about slaves and people that take kids back in the days.
Say it loud.
The story is about slaves and people taking their kids back in the days. The slaves taking their kids back in the days.
All right. Let me hear the young lady behind you.
Thank you very much. How do we sit? Your eyes are supposed to be where? On the speaker. Paying attention. Put your ear, sit down.
Good morning, young people. I'm going to read you a story, and it's a book, and it's called Juneteenth, a children's story. Let me hear you say the word Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Louder.
Juneteenth.
All right, I want you to remember this here, and I want you to tell your parents this story, okay? So you gotta be listening, and then I'm gonna ask somebody what I told you. So listen carefully. I've got, and she's gonna show you the picture where I'm reading a story to some young children. And the children ask, they call me Granddear Opal Lee. And so they say, Granddear Opal Lee, what does this say? And I say to them, Juneteenth, a children's story. That's the title of the book. And then one child says, Granddear, can you please read this book to us? And I say, yeah, I'll read it to you. And I turn the page, and over the page it says, over 200 years ago, people who looked like me, they looked just like me, they were slaves. How many years ago was it?
200 years.
And someone may have read to you the stories from the Bible that told about slaves in Egypt. But they were not like these slaves. And I turned the page. Men from this country and other countries stole people in Africa. from their fathers and their mothers and their brothers and their sisters. Say the word Africa.
Africa.
Where did they steal the people from?
Africa.
They brought them across the ocean in ships. That's a lot of water. And it took a very long time. And some of those people didn't make it. They never got to America. And then I turned the page. The slaves worked very hard for no pay. And they were not treated fairly. Life was not good for them. And they worked for what? Do you remember? No pay. Say it again.
No pay.
They worked for what?
No pay.
Okay. There was a United States president like President Barack Obama, and his name was Abraham Lincoln, who declared slaves would be free January the 1st, 1863. When did he say they would be free? January the 1st, 1863. Say it.
January 1st, 1863.
One more time.
January 1st, 1863.
Now this was called the Emancipation Proclamation. What was it called? Say it again.
Emancipation Proclamation.
Emancipation Proclamation. Say it again.
Emancipation Proclamation.
That's what he said. All people were free. All the slaves were free. And he said it January the 1st, 1863. And then I turned the page. Slaves waited at churches all night long. Excuse me. They waited all night long on New Year's Eve to see how freedom would come. These were called watch night services. And many churches still hold them today. They were called what? Watch night services. Say it.
Watch night services.
Watch night services. Say it again.
Watch night services.
All right. The United States where we live was so big that slaves in Texas, that's where I live, didn't get the news for 2.5 years after slavery ended. When did they get the news? 2.5 years after slavery ended. Let me hear you say 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years. All right. Then I turned the page. On June the 19th, 1865, in Galveston, Texas, Major General Gordon Granger read General Order Number 3 to the people that were there. His name was Major General Gordon Granger. Can you say Major General Gordon Granger?
Major General Gordon Granger.
Say it again.
Major General Gordon Granger.
He's the person who read General Order Number 3 to the people that were there. Say General Order Number 3.
General Order Number 3.
All right. And then he nailed General Order Number 3 to the door of what is now Reedy Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church. General Granger declared all slaves are free. What did he say?
All slaves are free.
Say it again.
All slaves are free.
That's what he said. And I turned the page. The slaves were so happy that they started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since. Every year since that happened, there have been celebrations, and former slaves put on their best clothes. They're dressed to the nines to celebrate their freedom. What do they put on?
Their best clothes.
Their very best clothes. Say it again.
Their very best clothes.
Okay. Now this day was called Juneteenth. What was it called?
Juneteenth.
And it's celebrated in the United States and around the world. There are 47 states that celebrate Juneteenth as a holiday. How many states?
47.
Say it again.
47.
All right, 47 states that celebrate Juneteenth as a holiday. Each year, on the 19th of June, people celebrate the ending of slavery with festivals, fairs, and educational activities. And that's the end of the story. What's the name of it?
Juneteenth.
Say it again.
Juneteenth.
And what day did it happen?
January 1st.
And you're right, January 1st, 1863 was when the president said that all slaves were free. But the ones in Texas didn't get the news for how long?
2.5 years.
Say it again.
2.5 years.
You're right, they didn't get the news for 2.5 years. But when they did, oh, who was it that told them that they were free? Who? Tell me.
The president.
The president really did say it, but there was a man who went down to Texas. What was his name? General Gordon Granger. Say it.
General Gordon Ranger.
Say it again.
General Gordon Ranger.
General Gordon Granger. And he had a piece of paper, and he called it General Order Number 3. That didn't have anything to do with his name. And so,
Good morning, warriors. I am in doing Candace's walk. Good morning, warriors. I've been doing my campus walk and I'm popping in from class to class. I will be in every classroom at some point today. So, I'm seeing some really good things in a few of the classrooms, so keep up the hard work. But again, I'm coming to every classroom to look at your procedures today so I can determine what our next steps need to be at the campus. Scholars, it is the expectation that you are holding up your end of the bargain. Point blank period. Holding up your end. I will see you in a little bit.
that was the principle, was it not?
Yep.
Well, children, I'm wanting you to be able to go home and tell mother that, and father that you learned about, what did you learn about?
Juneteenth.
Say it again.
Juneteenth.
And Juneteenth is about freedom of who? Who were the people that were free?
Slavery.
Say it again.
Slavery.
Slaves, say it loud.
Slavery.
The slaves were free. Okay.
Brown people, black people were free.
Say it again.
Black people were free. Brown
Yes.
people were free. 'Cause
All
it
right.
wasn't just us. It was brown. Anybody that was brown
Okay.
was a slave.
All right. Your teacher has clarified that for me. Black people were slaves. I must remember to tell you that black people were slaves. You see, the slaves in Egypt were a bit different. And you must tell your parents that, you hear? Thank you for letting me tell you the story.
You're welcome.
Let's make sure you guys doing a good job.
Good
1, 2, 3.
Good job. Good job. Good job. G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job. Good job. I was the good and was the great. It's a new remix, so please don't hate. Did a great job. Great job. Did a great job. Great job. G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job. Good job.
Thank you, Grandier. Let's let her say thank you, Grandier.
Thank you, Grandier.
You are so welcome. Thank you, teacher.
Okay, stand up. Stand up. I'm still looking. I'm still looking. You need to be looking this way.
Where was it? Galveston, Texas. And you're gonna tell your mothers and fathers about what? Say it out loud. You're gonna tell them about Juneteenth. All right.
Thank you. Can we say good job?
Good job, good job. Good job, good job. G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job. I was good and with the great. It's a new remix, so please don't hate. You did a great job, great job. You did a great job, great job. G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I want all the boys to line up right
Hey, don't go back to Florida, right? This way.
next to the line.
Don't go far. Great job. Hey,
To the first stop.
Stop pushing.
good man.
Okay, girls, next. Follow.
Come on, man. Boy, come.
Girls, follow.
Don't
Thank
worry
you
about
so
it.
much.
Zach, don't worry about it.